The Galactic Concordat prided itself on being the most advanced civilization in the known universe. For 10,000 years, they had guided lesser species toward enlightenment, carefully managing their technological growth to prevent chaos. Their first contact protocols were precise, refined through countless encounters. So when High Observer Zixtal received reports of unusual energy signatures from Sol 3, they expected nothing more than another primitive civilization to catalog and monitor. The massive survey vessel, Eternal Light, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, its quantum sensors immediately beginning their standard sweep. Initial readings showed exactly what they expected: a handful of primitive fusion reactors, basic orbital habitats around the third and fourth planets, and rudimentary antimatter experiments. Zixtal's crystalline appendages shifted in satisfaction as they prepared the standard assessment protocols. Another species trapped in their cradle, Second Observer Nenra noted, their voice carrying the usual mixture of superiority and boredom. "Shall I prepare the monitoring beacons?" But something made Zixtal pause. After millennia of observations, they had developed an instinct for these things. The energy readings were perfect, too perfect. Each signature aligned exactly with what they'd expect from a civilization at this development stage. It was like looking at a textbook example. "Deploy the deep scan probes," Zixtal ordered, ignoring Nenra's surprised flutter. Full spectrum analysis. The probes launched silently, their sophisticated sensors penetrating deeper into the system. For several minutes, nothing changed. Then suddenly, every alarm on the bridge activated simultaneously. "Impossible," Nenra exclaimed, their crystalline form vibrating with shock. "These readings, they can't be correct." But they were. Hidden beneath what they now recognize as a carefully constructed facade of primitive technology lay something far more sophisticated. Quantum shielding of unprecedented complexity masked the true extent of human development. What had appeared to be simple orbital habitats were actually massive defense platforms, their weapon systems dormant but ready. And the antimatter experiments. They were just the visible tip of a vast energy production network that dwarfed anything in the Concordat's database. Before Zixtal could process these revelations, new signatures appeared. Space itself seemed to fold as massive vessels emerged from what their sensors identified as artificial subspace pockets, technology the Concordat had theorized but never mastered. The ships were beautiful in their deadly efficiency, each one larger than the Eternal Light, their hulls shimmering with energy fields that defied analysis. "We are receiving a transmission," the communication officer announced, their voice trembling. "Text only, using our own encryption protocols." The message that appeared on the main display was elegant in its simplicity. "Greetings, visitors. Your scans have been noted. Please maintain your current position while our diplomatic delegation approaches. We look forward to productive discussions about your incursion into restricted space." As Zixtal watched, one of the human vessels detached from the formation. Unlike the others, which radiated barely contained power, this one appeared almost gentle, though their sensors suggested it could reduce the Eternal Light to atoms in moments if it chose. "How?" Nenra whispered. "How did they hide all this? Why?" Zixtal's outer shell shifted in what their species' equivalent of a grim smile. "Because they're smarter than us," they replied. "While we've been playing at being the galaxy's shepherds, they've been watching, learning, and preparing. The question isn't how they did it. It's what they plan to do now that they've let us see their true face." The diplomatic vessel was almost upon them now, its sleek hull bearing markings in multiple languages. Among them was a phrase that sent chills through Zixtal's crystalline core: "Peace through preparedness." They had come expecting to find primitives. Instead, they had discovered something far more dangerous: equals who had deliberately hidden their true nature until they were ready to reveal it. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Concordat would have to negotiate rather than dictate. As Zixtal prepared to receive the human representatives, they couldn't help but wonder how many other assumptions about the galaxy were about to be shattered. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the heart of Titan Command, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing the Concordat vessel holding position exactly where instructed. Around her, the massive underground facility hummed with controlled activity as humanity's most sophisticated command center shifted from standby to active status. Titan Protocol now at Stage 3, announced Colonel Marcus Wright from his station. All orbital defense platforms are live. Sol Defense Grid reports full coverage. The Artemis fleet is in position behind Luna, and the Perseus fleet has completed its emergence from the Jupiter waypoints. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. For 2 centuries, humanity had prepared for this moment. The catastrophic first contact with the Proxima Raiders had taught them a harsh lesson. The galaxy wasn't the friendly place optimists had imagined. But rather than retreat into isolation or broadcast their military buildup, humanity had chosen a third path, the Titan Protocol. Status of the masking field, she asked, watching as another layer of holographic data overlaid the tactical display. Operating within parameters, responded Dr. Elena Santos, Chief of Quantum Engineering. The Concordat's deep scan probes actually helped us refine the field. Their scanning frequencies gave us valuable data about their technological base. They're advanced, but their approach to quantum mechanics is surprisingly rigid. That was the key insight that had shaped the Titan Protocol. Most spacefaring races followed predictable technological paths, building upon each achievement in a linear fashion. Humanity, traumatized by the Proxima incident, had thrown out the rulebook. They'd pursued multiple technological paths simultaneously, embracing apparent dead ends and theoretical impossibilities. The result was a military and industrial base that operated on principles the Concordat couldn't even detect, let alone understand. Their quantum masking fields didn't just hide activity. They presented false readings so perfect that they seemed natural. Their subspace pocket technology didn't just hide fleets. It created stable domains of altered spacetime that could maintain entire industrial complexes. The Concordat vessel is launching a shuttle, Colonel Wright reported. Their diplomatic delegation is en route to the Perseus. Sarah nodded. The Perseus, like all human ships, was a masterpiece of misdirection. What appeared to be a diplomatic vessel was actually one of their most powerful warships, capable of reconfiguring itself in moments thanks to its quantum-locked modular design. Dr. Santos, begin the reveal sequence, Sarah ordered. Let's show them exactly what they're dealing with. But gradually. We don't want to trigger any panic responses. Around the solar system, carefully maintained illusions began to fade. Orbital habitats revealed their true nature as fortress stations. Apparent asteroid fields resolved into dormant fleet anchorages. What had seemed to be simple solar collection arrays transformed into vast energy-gathering networks that fed humanity's quantum forge complexes. Energy spike from the Concordat vessel, Colonel Wright announced. Their sensors are going crazy trying to process the changes. Wait, we're detecting quantum communication bursts. They're calling for reinforcements. As expected, Sarah replied calmly. Maintain current posture. Let's see how they react to Phase 2. On her command, the Perseus began its transformation. Quantum-locked modules shifted and realigned. Weapon systems emerged from subspace pockets, and the ship's apparent mass doubled as hidden systems came online. The Concordat delegation, already en route in their shuttle, would arrive to find themselves approaching something very different from what they'd originally seen. Message from the Concordat shuttle, the communications officer announced. They're requesting confirmation that this is not a hostile action. Sarah dictated her response carefully. Inform them that this is simply a standard security protocol for diplomatic engagement. Remind them that if we intended hostile action, we would not have revealed ourselves at all. The truth of that statement hung heavily in the command center. The Titan Protocol had given humanity centuries to prepare. to build, to advance far beyond what the Concordat could imagine. They could have struck without warning, conquered without resistance. Instead, they chose to reveal themselves gradually, hoping to establish diplomatic relations from a position of strength rather than superiority. "Admiral," Dr. Santos called out, "Quantum Forge Complex on Ganymede is reporting ready. Should we proceed with Phase 3? Sarah studied the tactical display for a long moment. Phase 3 would demonstrate humanity's true industrial capacity, their ability to construct capital ships in hours rather than years, to forge weapons that could reshape solar systems, to deploy technologies that bordered on the miraculous. Not yet, she decided. Let's give them time to process what they've seen so far. We're not here to terrify them into submission. We're here to establish a lasting peace between equals." As she watched the Concordat shuttle approach the transformed Perseus, Sarah reflected on the long path that had led to this moment. Humanity had hidden its strength not out of fear, but out of wisdom. They had learned from their own history that true peace came not from the strong dominating the weak, but from mutual respect between powers. The Titan Protocol was working exactly as designed. The question now was whether the Concordat would prove wise enough to embrace a future where they were no longer the undisputed masters of known space. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Perseus resembled a masterpiece of architectural deception. What appeared to be simple marble and wood was actually a complex matrix of quantum-suspended materials, every surface capable of transforming into advanced defensive systems in microseconds. At its center, two delegations faced each other across a table that could double as a tactical command center. High Observer Zixtal's crystalline form refracted light in patterns that suggested anxiety, while Admiral Sarah Chen maintained a carefully neutral expression. The initial pleasantries had been exchanged, and now came the real challenge, negotiating a future neither side had anticipated. "Your deception was comprehensive," Zixtal began, their translator rendering the words with perfect clarity. "The Concordat has guided the development of countless species, yet none have ever hidden their true nature so effectively. We must understand why." Sarah's response was measured. "The Proxima Raiders taught us that the galaxy could be hostile, but Earth's history taught us something equally important, that displaying power too openly invites challenge and conflict. We chose a third path." The holographic display between them activated, showing the solar system as it truly was, a vast network of defenses, industrial complexes, and fleet installations that made the Concordat's military presence look primitive by comparison. "Impossible," one of Zixtal's aides muttered. "These construction timeframes, these energy requirements, are entirely accurate," Sarah confirmed. While the Concordat focused on perfecting known technologies, humanity explored theoretical possibilities. "We found that the laws of physics are more flexible than previously assumed." The display shifted, showing a quantum forge in action. Matter itself seemed to dance and reshape as a new vessel took form, assembled at the atomic level by fields that defied conventional understanding. "Your quantum engineering alone," Zixtal observed, "could revolutionize galactic civilization. Yet you kept it hidden. What are your intentions now?" Sarah leaned forward slightly. "Peace, cooperation, and mutual advancement. But on equal terms, not as students requiring guidance, but as partners bringing our own strengths to the relationship." Before Zixtal could respond, alerts flashed across the chamber's hidden displays. Colonel Wright's voice came through on a secure channel. "Admiral, we're detecting multiple fold space ruptures. The Concordat reinforcement fleet has arrived, and they're not maintaining the agreed-upon safe distance." Sarah watched as Zixtal's crystalline appendages shifted in what she recognized as embarrassment. "Your military command is acting without your authority," she stated. It wasn't a question. "There are factions within the Concordat," Zixtal admitted. "Some will resist any change to the established order. They may see this as their only opportunity to prevent humanity's emergence as an equal power." The tactical display updated, showing 12 Concordat dreadnoughts taking aggressive positions. Their weapon systems were charging, their actions making their intentions clear. A pity. Sarah sighed. We had hoped to avoid this kind of demonstration. She made a subtle gesture, and the Perseus's diplomatic chamber began to transform. Quantum-locked panels shifted, revealing the true nature of the vessel. You should contact your fleet, High Observer. Explain to them what you've learned about humanity's capabilities. For their sake. Zixtal's form pulsed with colored light, their equivalent of a grim smile. They would not listen. The military council believes that your revealed capabilities are the extent of your power. They think a swift strike now will prevent humanity from growing stronger. Then they have made a serious miscalculation, Sarah responded. She opened a channel to Titan Command. Execute Phase 3. The void between Mars and Jupiter erupted with energy as the Concordat fleet opened fire. Their weapon systems, refined over millennia of technological development, launched streams of quantum-destabilized particles designed to tear apart matter at the subatomic level. Against any known defense, it would have been devastating. But humanity's defenses were anything but known. The barrage simply ceased to exist halfway to its targets, absorbed by fields of altered spacetime that humanity had perfected during their centuries of hidden preparation. On the Perseus's bridge, Admiral Chen watched the attack dissolve with calm detachment. No casualties, no damage, all systems nominal, Colonel Wright reported, his voice steady. The Concordat fleet appears to be confused. Through the quantum link display, Sarah could see the enemy vessels adjusting their positions, their sensors struggling to understand why their attack had failed. On a separate channel, High Observer Zixtal's crystalline form pulsed with complex patterns of light. You must act quickly, the alien diplomat urged. The military council will not accept this failure. They will escalate to planetary destruction protocols. Sarah nodded. That's why we're going to end this now. Dr. Santos, initiate the Helios Protocol. Around the solar system, humanity's true defensive grid activated. What had appeared to be simple orbital platforms transformed into nexus points of a vast energy web. The sun itself seemed to pulse as quantum collectors that had laid dormant for decades began harvesting its power directly. Quantum forge complexes at full power, Dr. Santos reported. Helios grid is stable, ready for demonstration. The Concordat fleet, perhaps sensing the change in energy patterns, began charging their most powerful weapons. Energy readings suggested they were preparing to unleash enough firepower to crack a planet. They never got the chance. Space itself seemed to fold around 3 of their dreadnoughts. Where mighty warships had been, there was suddenly nothing. The vessels hadn't been destroyed. They had simply been removed from normal spacetime, transferred to a containment dimension humanity had engineered specifically for this purpose. 3 targets secured, Colonel Wright announced. Minimal energy expenditure. Quantum forges are already processing their mass signatures for analysis. The remaining Concordat ships attempted to scatter, their formation breaking as panic overtook tactical training. 2 more vanished in the same manner. Another 3 found their weapons and drive systems simply shutting down, their quantum cores precisely manipulated by fields they couldn't detect. Attention Concordat vessels, Sarah broadcast on all frequencies. This is Admiral Chen. What you have witnessed is approximately 1% of our full military capability. Your ships have not been destroyed, merely contained. They and their crews will be returned unharmed once we have established a new understanding. On her tactical display, she could see the remaining Concordat ships powering down their weapons. Their sensors were frantically scanning the space around them, finally detecting the true extent of humanity's defensive grid. The quantum web stretched across the entire solar system, every point capable of replicating what they had just witnessed. By the first light, Zixtal whispered, their crystalline form trembling. The energy requirements alone, the computational power needed to maintain such precise control over spacetime, are well within our capabilities. Sarah completed the thought. Humanity chose to hide not out of weakness, but because we understood that power displayed too readily breeds fear and aggression. We developed our technology in secret not to conquer, but to ensure that when we finally revealed ourselves, we would be strong enough that none could force us into war. The quantum link display showed the remaining Concordat vessels holding position, their commanders clearly awaiting orders from their hierarchy. But the military council, faced with the utter failure of their assault and the display of technology they couldn't comprehend, had fallen silent. "What happens now?" Zixtal asked, their translator struggling to convey the complex emotions in their harmonic speech. The Concordat fleet, perhaps sensing the change in energy patterns, began charging their most powerful weapons. Energy readings suggested they were preparing to unleash enough firepower to crack a planet. They never got the chance. Space itself seemed to fold around 3 of their dreadnoughts. Where mighty warships had been, there was suddenly nothing. The vessels hadn't been destroyed. They had simply been removed from normal spacetime, transferred to a containment dimension humanity had engineered specifically for this purpose. 3 targets secured, Colonel Wright announced. Minimal energy expenditure. Quantum forges are already processing their mass signatures for analysis. The remaining Concordat ships attempted to scatter, their formation breaking as panic overtook tactical training. 2 more vanished in the same manner. Another 3 found their weapons and drive systems simply shutting down, their quantum cores precisely manipulated by fields they couldn't detect. "Attention Concordat vessels," Sarah broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Admiral Chen. What you have witnessed is approximately 1% of our full military capability. Your ships have not been destroyed, merely contained. They and their crews will be returned unharmed once we have established a new understanding." On her tactical display, she could see the remaining Concordat ships powering down their weapons. Their sensors were frantically scanning the space around them, finally detecting the true extent of humanity's defensive grid. The quantum web stretched across the entire solar system, every point capable of replicating what they had just witnessed. By the first light, Zixtal whispered, their crystalline form trembling. The energy requirements alone, the computational power needed to maintain such precise control over spacetime, are well within our capabilities. Sarah completed the thought. Humanity chose to hide not out of weakness, but because we understood that power displayed too readily breeds fear and aggression. We developed our technology in secret not to conquer, but to ensure that when we finally revealed ourselves, we would be strong enough that none could force us into war. The quantum link display showed the remaining Concordat vessels holding position, their commanders clearly awaiting orders from their hierarchy. But the military council, faced with the utter failure of their assault and the display of technology they couldn't comprehend, had fallen silent. "What happens now?" Zixtal asked, their translator struggling to convey the complex emotions in their harmonic speech. Sarah's expression softened slightly. "Now we return to diplomacy. Your ships and crews will be released gradually, as we establish new protocols for interaction between our civilizations. The Concordat must accept that the age of guidance is over. Humanity is ready to take its place as an equal partner in galactic civilization." Around them, the quantum forge complexes were already processing the data gathered from the contained Concordat vessels, analyzing their technology while preparing to release them safely. The Helios grid hummed with contained stellar energy, ready to defend humanity if needed, but equally prepared to power a new age of cooperation and advancement. "The military council will resist," Zixtal warned, though their tone suggested they had already accepted the new reality. "They can resist," Sarah replied calmly, "but they cannot prevail. The question is whether the Concordat is wise enough to embrace change willingly, or if they need further demonstrations of why the old order cannot continue." 1 month after the failed Concordat assault, the Great Chamber of Titan Command had been transformed into a forum for galactic diplomacy. Representatives from 30 major civilizations gathered under the watchful eye of quantum security fields, their forms ranging from crystalline to gaseous to energy-based, all unified by a single purpose, witnessing the formal recognition of humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. Admiral Sarah Chen stood beside High Observer Zixtel as they watched the proceedings. The Concordet's military council had been dissolved, replaced by a new cooperative body that included human representatives. The quantum forges had already begun sharing their insights into Concordat technology, finding ways to merge their different approaches to universal laws. "Your people have adapted remarkably quickly," Sarah noted, watching as human and alien engineers collaborated on a holographic display showing hybrid quantum fold technology. "We had no choice." Zixtel's crystalline form shimmered with what Sarah had learned was amusement. When faced with proof that all our assumptions about technological development were wrong, adaptation was the only logical response. The main display showed live feeds from across the solar system. The contained Concordat vessels had been released as promised, their crews shaken but unharmed. Many had chosen to stay, fascinated by humanity's different approach to physics and engineering. The quantum forges were now producing hybrid vessels, combining the best aspects of both civilizations' technology. "The latest reports from the frontier colonies are encouraging," Colonel Wright reported, approaching with a quantum tablet. "The knowledge that humanity stands ready to defend any world within our sphere of influence has dramatically reduced piracy and aggressive expansion. The Proxima raiders haven't been seen since the demonstration." Sarah nodded, remembering the species that had inadvertently shaped humanity's path to the stars. "Have we located their homeworld?" "Yes," Wright confirmed. "But following your orders, we've simply established a containment perimeter. They'll be allowed to develop until they're ready for peaceful contact." "A most unusual approach," observed a new voice. Supreme Coordinator Valith, the highest-ranking survivor of the old Concordat hierarchy, floated forward in their energy form. "In our experience, species who achieve military supremacy invariably use it to enforce their will upon others." "Then you haven't studied Earth's history carefully enough," Sarah replied. "We've seen where that path leads. Humanity spent centuries fighting among ourselves before realizing that true power lies not in domination, but in cooperation and mutual growth." The chamber's displays shifted to show the first test of the new hybrid drive system. A joint human Concordat science vessel phased into quantum space, its journey time to Alpha Centauri reduced to hours instead of years. Around it, the quantum security grid extended its protection, humanity's gift to their new allies. "The Proxima raiders taught us to be strong," Sarah continued, "but our own history taught us to be wise. That's why we hid our development, why we waited until we were powerful enough that we couldn't be forced into war. Not to conquer, but to ensure that when we finally emerged, we could help shape a galaxy of equals." Zixtel's form pulsed with complex patterns. "And if some species refuse this new order, then they'll find that humanity's revealed strength is still only a fraction of our true capability," Sarah answered calmly. "We've kept some innovations in reserve, not out of mistrust, but because the galaxy isn't ready for them. Each advancement will be shared when the time is right." The diplomatic chamber hummed with activity as representatives from across known space discussed technology exchanges, defense treaties, and trade agreements. The quantum forges were already being replicated in other systems, their production capacity dedicated to improving life throughout the galaxy rather than building weapons of war. "A new age begins," Valdeth observed, their energy form flickering with complex emotions. "Not through conquest or submission, but through humanity's patience and foresight." Sarah watched as another hybrid vessel emerged from the quantum forges, its design a perfect blend of human innovation and Concordat refinement. "That was always our goal. The Titan Protocol wasn't just about hiding our strength. It was about revealing it in a way that would lead to cooperation rather than conflict." Above them, the quantum security grid extended its protection across an ever-growing sphere of space. Humanity had emerged not as conquerors, but as guardians, not forcing their will upon the galaxy, but offering their strength as a shield behind which civilization could flourish. The age of isolation was over. The age of true cooperation had begun, and humanity, through patience, wisdom, and carefully revealed strength, had shaped it without firing a shot in anger. "Welcome to the future," Sarah said softly, watching as the combined fleet began its first joint patrol. "We've been preparing it for a very long time."